tonight what I wanted to talk about is that less is more is not more. Okay. And you're probably like, wait a second, isn't more more? And make sure if you're here with me, type in the chat bar and hit share on this video. So I used to think more is more, right? Like more tools, more area, more trucks, more everything makes sense. And let me give you a couple things that I learned over time. One of the first things I thought was like more room is better. And so we went from a smaller house to a bigger house. Now you tell me when you go from a smaller house to a bigger house, hey, what's up, Marcel? When you go from a smaller house to a bigger house, is that better? Is more room better? Or do you then fill that more room with stuff? Now, if you look at things as stuff and you look at how stuff can clutter your thinking processes, right? Can cause distractions. All of a sudden, there's more things to clean. You just start to recognize that, wait a minute, maybe more is not more. Maybe more is more distractions. Maybe less is more. Now, anytime I used to think like, and I mean, I've had a lot of books, thousands of books. Like the most dangerous place for me to go is like Barnes and Noble. The chances of me going in Barnes and Noble and not walking out with like 3 or 4 magazines and 4 or 5 books, I mean, just all the time, I got those things just stack up. Hey, what's up, Eric? Stacked up books and books. And what happens is you think that you created this massive library and like more is more, but all of a sudden you don't know what to pick, what to read, what to look at, what's the next thing. And I started to say, well, wait a second, if there was just less, if I just focused on these 3 books, and let me give you a little different thinking about reading and stuff. Most people don't even, what I believe, don't read a book for impact. They read a book for information, because school has really hijacked you as a kid, because they made you read all these books and a lot of them sucked. Type in the chat bar, did you ever read a book forced in school? It's horrible. But the way to success was you had to force yourself through torture to complete this book. And I think that's the wrong way to read books. I think people buy a book and then they think like it's you must go from start to end. And I learned after all my years on how to, 1, consume information quicker, 2, implement it quicker, and then track on those implementations and then change as quickly as possible if it wasn't working. So I started to read books. Now I took speed reading classes actually so long ago. This is how long I've been investing in additional education. Maybe some of you could tell me in the chat bar. My wife and Rob and I think my wife was actually pregnant. We went to an Evelyn Woods speed reading training. Do you ever go to this and you kind of read with your finger and stuff? So that was my first run at learning that I thought that knowledge was power. And you probably think that too, like knowledge is power, right? And as I started to consume a lot of knowledge, I noticed that the knowledge that I was consuming was, right, again, less is more, not more is more. And I'm going to put this into the study and how to get the most out of information, even this information right here that I'm giving you. So I was starting to think that just by consuming at a faster rate of speed, more knowledge, that I would get greater results. But knowledge is not power. Knowledge is not results. Applied knowledge gets you results, right? Applied knowledge gets you power. As soon as I started to figure that out, I started to know that it wasn't about reading dozens of books. It was about reading one. The second, it wasn't about reading all the pages. It was about reading the pages until, boom, you got an awakening, okay? Now, the minute you get an awakening, you know what happened? All these pathways through your brain, all of a sudden you connected a new pathway, a brand new pathway. And how do I know this works? Well, I mean, 3 decades of helping people with their minds. And even in business, I've helped people for the last 7 years in business. And another person just called me today, another client of ours, and just said, hey, just sold my company. I think that's like, it's probably 18 now in the last 18 months of companies that sold. And it all goes back to this process of teaching them not just how to consume, but how to consume it until there's an awakening and then implement on it. See, when a new pathway is made in your brain and it clicks, it's like click, and you go, oh, that's how I should do it. This is how I should do it. Or wait a minute, maybe that's not the best way. Maybe I should consider this way. Now, a lot of people, the second thing that happens is because they think more is more, they get a great idea and they think, well, there must be 12 other great ideas. Anybody ever do this? Like, there must be 12 other great ideas. So what they do is they get one idea and they go, well, wait a minute, I have to research this one new idea. So they go out and they start researching more and more books, more and more information. The whole time they've implemented nothing. They took action on nothing, which meant there was nothing to track except the amount of time that you're trying to create another thing above what you just read. So same thing here. If you walk away, and this is 24 days of videos straight. So if you didn't watch the other 23, you should go back in Facebook and watch the other 23. But you should watch it like this. You should sit there and just listen until the one action item that you say, I'm going to do this. I'm now going to think like this. I'm going to take action on this. I'm going to implement this, and just do that, which means you would have had 24 action items to do over 24 days. Now, some of them, like this one, is just a new adjustment to how you read. So, well, I don't have books in here. I got a whole stack next to my bed. But if you pick up a book, I want you just to go, okay, let me start, consume. Wait a minute. This is how I should communicate. This is a new way to negotiate. This is a new way to think about health. Got it. Stop. Hey, what's up, Mark Dahl? Stop, take your pen and go, okay, here is my new action that I'm going to do. Now, the second thing is when people start doing actions, they all of a sudden want to do 25 new actions instead of just one new action. Now, I have my checkoff sheet here, and I'm still interested. If anybody, I'll still do it if enough of you want it. A couple said yes. If you want to do, I have this daily power routine tracker here, and I have a whole bunch of things that I do every single day, and I check them off. Okay. And this is a superpower routine, which will pretty much optimize your mind, your body, your spirit, and make you superhuman to get incredible results and in all areas of your life. If you guys are into that, just type in challenge. I'm keep tracking some other people. Plus, I have another cool challenge, one already coming up. I know this is going to be coming soon too. Let me know if you want to get on this one. We have our Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group, and we are adjusting some of the things that we're going to be doing in the Facebook group. So maybe if my wife or Aaron or somebody's watching this, you could type in the Facebook group new name and what we are doing there. But it's all going to be around this personal growth and this mindset mastery. So let me ask you this question before I go back to less is more and more is not more. Do you want personal growth or mindset mastery, or you want both? What do you want? Type in the chat bar now, personal growth. Do you want mindset mastery, or do you want both? And if you're not in that group, I want you to get in there because we have some really, really cool stuff coming up for you guys, which means this is great information. But in that group, we're going to start to hyper speed our results on how you function in all areas, from your relationship to your health to communication, all of that. Okay. Just imagine the highest level of peak performance that you could get. Okay, Eric, I agree with you. So now what I want you to do is, one, you're going to listen to tonight's video, and you should have already taken one action item. Okay, one action item. Even if that action item is the minute you get an action item in anything you consume, you're going to stop reading and execute on it. Now, I'm giving you some of the secret sauce for me that has grown huge companies, sold huge companies, and still manages to run at a high level himself, I'm giving that to you because I want you to have the same opportunity. I want you to have more opportunities than me. And the way to get that is to find something and then implement it on it quickly. Now, I want you to ask yourself a question. All right. Here's one more action item. Can you do two? Can you do two today? What is something that you have so much of that it's creating distraction versus direction? Think a minute. What is something you have so much of that it's causing distraction instead of direction? Let me give you a simple example to think about this. Do you have too many junk drawers in your kitchen? Do you have too many? Do you have like 3 or 4? And you look in there and there's like rubber bands and paper clips and all kinds of shit in there, sticky notes. There's just like all these drawers of stuff. So this could be causing a distraction for you instead of a direction, because when you go in there, you're like, oh man, I got clutter. When you have clutter, write this down. When you have clutter in your life, you have clutter in your mind. When you have clutter in your life, you have clutter in your mind. The reason why you have clutter in your mind is because when you see clutter, it holds a space in your brain that keeps you from making new directions and moving forward in the way that you want to. So just think of a basement or a garage, right? When you have clutter in your garage and you walk through it, does it take up some mind space in your mind? 100%. And just so you know, I see my wife put the link in there. Make sure you click that, join that free Facebook group so we could focus on personal growth and mindset mastery with you. I'm going to keep bringing you videos here, but I'm going to bring additional resources and information over there. So where in your life do you have to remove some things and just make it less? My wife and I have been on a quest for a while. What they call it is like a minimalist. And some of you have probably heard my stories of the book. It's like my arch enemy, this book. It's a very good book, but it's the most torturous process for a guy like me to go through. And my wife, I'm sure she'll put it in there. She always puts it in there, this Maria something thing. And it's like the whole theory is you have to empty, like if you're going to go through your sock drawer, because how many of you have like 100 straggler socks? Guys, come on. I know the guys do. Women normally, shit's all nice. They just like pick their socks. Guys, like socks are in there. They're trying to, if you're late for work, like it's 2 different socks. Did you ever wear 2 different socks? Come on. I'm like, okay, long black, black and gray. They're both about the same length. Who's going to see my socks, right? Who's going to see my socks? But to go through this method, yeah, the Maria Kondo method, you have to like empty out all the socks. You got to pair them up and then cleanse them. Now it's brutal when you do that, but when it's done, it's like, oh, I have less. So it means he won't do that. It's torturous. But when you do it, well, it's good if your wife does it and you just try not to see it at all. And then when it's done, just don't see her get rid of all the stuff that you probably would keep. And then it's a simpler system for you. Okay, so that's our subject for tonight.